All right, let's talk about something that completely changed the way we fly. We're going to dive into the absolutely fascinating world of aviation leasing. It's an incredible story about how a really clever idea born on a tiny island grew into a multi-billion-dollar industry that basically runs the skies. Okay, let's just kick things off with one number that, well, it might just blow your mind. Roughly half, that's right, 50% of all the commercial airplanes flying over your head right now, they're not actually owned by the airline whose name is painted on the side. So if they don't own them, how are they flying them? Well, the answer is they're leased. This one concept is the absolute backbone of the modern airline industry. But here's the truly wild part. This global powerhouse, this massive financial machine, is pretty much run from one small and maybe surprising place, Ireland. How on earth did that happen? To figure that out, we're going to trace the whole story. First, we'll look at why Ireland was so important to aviation from the very beginning. Then, we'll see how a huge crisis actually gave birth to the leasing industry. After that, we'll watch how one company's journey created this entire global ecosystem. And finally, and this is the important part, we'll connect it all back to you. You know, to really get how we ended up here, we've got to jump in the time machine and rewind. Way before all the big money contracts, Ireland was already at the geographic center of the aviation world. I mean, think about it. Stuck right on the western edge of Europe, it was the perfect launchpad for anyone brave enough to try and cross the Atlantic. So a few key things happened that put all the pieces on the board. In 1919, the very first non-stop transatlantic flight literally crash-landed in an Irish bog, instantly putting Ireland on the map. Then, just a couple of years later, Ireland got full control of its own airspace, a huge strategic win. By the 30s, you had legends like Charles Lindbergh himself picking the Shannon estuary for Pan Am's flying boats. And it all led to 1945 when Shannon Airport became the official gateway between Europe and the Americas. You can see the foundation being built, piece by piece. Okay, let's jump forward now to the 1970s. The world's in a recession, and the whole aviation industry is in a total nosedive. But it's right here, in the middle of this crisis, that a truly revolutionary idea was about to be born. So picture this. You're Aer Lingus, Ireland's national airline, and you are in deep trouble. You've got these brand new jets, these incredibly expensive, multi-million-dollar assets, just sitting on the tarmac. They're not flying, they're not making money, they're just burning a hole in your pocket. It was a massive problem. And the guy who got this, let's be honest, this chore of figuring out what to do with these planes was an Aer Lingus employee named Tony Ryan. His job sounded simple, but it felt impossible. Find a temporary home for these multi-million-dollar jets. And Ryan's solution? It was nothing short of genius. Instead of letting the planes collect dust, he thought, what if I find other airlines who need a plane right now? So he leased the jets to them, crew and all. It was called a wet lease, and it was the spark that lit the fire for the entire modern leasing industry. It totally changed the game, turning aircraft from just a way to get from A to B into flexible, money-making assets. And for Ryan, this was a massive light bulb moment. He realized this wasn't just a quick fix for Aer Lingus, this was a gigantic global business opportunity. So in 1975, he took a huge leap, left the airline, and founded his own company right there in Shannon. He called it Guinness Peak Aviation, or as it came to be known, GPA. GPA's ambition was just off the charts. Seriously, they weren't just moving a few planes around, no. They started ordering brand new jets straight from Boeing and Airbus, buying more planes than some of the world's biggest airlines. I mean, at their peak, they were taking delivery of almost 2 new aircraft every single week. It was unbelievable. Now, this is where the real genius of GPA comes in. They understood something that nobody else really had before. An aircraft is 2 things at once. It's a financial asset, sure, with lease rates and profits, but it's also a highly complex physical asset. And GPA built the systems that connected those 2 worlds. They knew that the plane's financial value was directly 100% tied to its physical condition and its maintenance records. And man, did they take off. From just a handful of planes, their fleet exploded to over 400 aircraft by 1991. They were a powerhouse. By 1992, they were ready to launch the biggest IPO, the largest stock market launch in the history of Ireland. It felt like they were on top of the world. And then, it all came crashing down. A perfect storm of a global recession and the first Gulf War made investors terrified. The IPO, the one that was supposed to be the biggest in the country's history, it failed, just like that. For GPA, it was a catastrophe. But here's the craziest part of the whole story. That failure is the single biggest reason the leasing industry looks the way it does today. The collapse didn't kill the idea, it actually spread it across the entire globe. So think about it. GPA had hired the smartest people in the world for aviation finance and technical management. When the company went down, all that incredible talent, what we now call the GPA diaspora, had to go somewhere. And they didn't just get new jobs. No, they went out and founded the next generation of powerhouse leasing companies, names you definitely know, like Avalon and AerCap. They basically created the entire competitive landscape we see today. And the result of all that? Well, take a look at this. Even today, 8 out of the top 10 aircraft leasing companies in the world are based in Ireland. That one company's failure literally seeded an entire global industry, cementing Ireland's role as the undisputed center of the universe for aviation leasing. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does this history matter so much to you? It's this. The entire multi-billion-dollar financial structure we've been talking about is built on one single idea: preserving the value of the asset, the airplane. That's it. And that is where you come in. For every single engineer, every camo professional listening right now, this is your world. You're not just working on a machine. You are the guardians of a multi-million-dollar financial asset. Every single check, every logbook entry, every technical call you make has a direct, real-world impact on that asset's value and the profitability of this entire industry. So that leads to the big question for any professional in aviation today. It's not enough to just know the tech anymore. To really succeed, you have to understand the financial world that it powers. So how are you going to master that connection between the technical and the financial? This course is your answer. It's been built from the ground up by AEROPODA professionals, people who live and breathe this stuff every single day, specifically for aviation professionals like you. This is your first, most important step to bridging that gap, to understanding the whole picture, and to mastering that critical link between the technical and the financial.